Okay, let's take a look at this final footwork technique, which we call the high-low. What happens during a fight is so many stick fighters are out there are preoccupied with hitting the opponent in the head or in the hand that basically they're just headhunters. What you want to do is to open up the rest of the body as a potential target. Obviously, the knee is going to be one, and the foot is going to be another. This is the portion of the lower half of the hourglass that Mark talked about earlier, where you're striking your opponent at a flat horizontal strike from down here. The key to being able to hit your opponent at the lower level is how you go up and down. Now, when you watch stick fighters out there, you get an idea of how some of them are going to go down the leg. Some of them are going to reach over like this. Some of them are going to, as they come around, they tend to stick their butts out, or they spread their feet out quite a bit like this. And the problem is, when you have this habit of having your butt out in the air, there's a tendency to leave your head wide open. So as you go across, you get hit like that. The other bad habit is if you have your feet too far wide apart, they get stuck down here. And even though they may hit him, they have a problem getting back out. And again, they get run over. Or occasionally what will happen is they'll miss or just tag the guy in the calf or in a muscle group here that doesn't do that much damage, and they're stuck. They can't quite get out. He comes over the top, or can come and circle from either his back or to his front. The key to going down low to your opponent's knee is not so much going down, but it's also to be able to get out. So let's look at how we go down so that we can get out. When you go down to your opponent, don't have your butt out, don't lean too far in like this. Have your feet roughly shoulders width apart. As you come down, keep your feet underneath you, your head in tight, bring your whole body down. Don't get into this habit here. You bring in everything else. So you're like you're putting your butt right between your feet. When you're striking out, it's just simply a power strike at this point from this level. The reason you want your feet underneath you like this is because if you're only on one foot, the tendency is, particularly after 2 or 3 fights, you're fatigued here. You instead of springing out like that, what happens is you go down and now you miss, or maybe a hit, but it didn't do what you thought it was going to do. Now to get out, you're up like that, and he can start running you down. So when you go down, I want you to go down with both feet like that. Here, even if you miss, you can get out. Important safety tip about getting out. Don't go down like this, hit or miss, and then just kind of walk out like that. Because what will happen is, particularly if you're fighting somebody who's really aggressive and doesn't like you, you'll go down, you'll miss or hit, and as you come up, boom, you'll catch one this way. Just like a boxer, when they're breaking a clinch, protecting yourself at all time, same with stick fighting. As you come down, come out like that, and then let one rip. Just to give yourself a little bit of space, because you're going to need that. Now, I've been showing you with the backhand what it looks like coming down low like this. Let's look at the forehand. The forehand, as you come around, the reason you would want to pick a forehand over a backhand will tend to catch the knees light. You won't catch the ankles too much unless he raises it up real high as you're doing it. The forehand, though, gives you a couple of options. Aside from just doing this, you can do a forehand diagonal as a power shot to come straight down. If he happens to line his hand up, or one of those fighters who leave their stick out like this, come down, wham, 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 like that. A line straight down, all the way down to the foot. If you happen to hit any of these targets, you may not disable him, but now, through the course of the fight, he has to worry about that as a potential to being injured somewhere down here and no longer able to fight. When you go hitting the foot, don't do one of these, like that. Again, for the same reason. Leave your head out. This, while great in theory, just isn't practical because your head's too high. It's a little, telegraphic. And even if you were to hit the person, unless you had a lead tip or a nail at the very end of your stick, it won't do what you're planning on it to do. When you go down to your opponent's foot, instead of going like this, I want you to look up, line up, and like that, straight down. Your whole body like that. If you do it on ground, you can even hit the ground with your fist a little bit. If you're on concrete, just stop it a little bit short. But the whole thing comes down into the foot. And if you catch him anywhere on the top or the toe, he's going to have a very hard time continuing to fight. Note balance, if you break a bone in your foot, it's just like breaking a bone in your hand. They're all small bones, and they go out easily. Yellow will set up this leg shot by first making Skins think about his head. You'll see a few fakes to the head by Yellow. And as soon as he sees Skins' foot out, he's going to look to take a shot at it. Anytime your opponent leaves something out there, hit it. Yellow goes down, keeping both feet underneath him. This is a more advanced version of going down to the low line, but successful. So now we've looked at this. You have the low on the backhand. You have the forehand. Now look what happens when you start getting your opponent to think about the lower part of his body as a target. Typically what will happen is as you just start to motion down, he begins to pike. Pike meaning he's just going to skip out like this for that instant of time to prevent himself from being hit. When you start getting your opponent doing that, perfect time to do what we call the kangaroo. As I'm fighting here, maybe I've gone down once or twice. Now I pretend I'm coming down, he pikes a little bit. From here you're going to do basically a kangaroo jump or spring up, or you could even call it a low line takeoff from here, like that. Followed up by a thrust, puño, whatever your specialty is at that point. So let's look at it again. You got your opponent here, you come in there like that, he pikes, maybe you missed him. Doesn't matter, you can carry him through, he steps back, and you jump out. The point being is now we're no longer just headhunters. We're no longer just hitting the head, because that's what most fighters are going to key on. Circle your opponent. Think about it as you're moving around in the fight. Now we have the whole range, the whole body. Head, okay, he's ready for it. Hand, he's ready for it. Come around, like that. Get your head out of the way. Don't come down like this. You'll see me always. When I fight, I bring my whole body down. I'll even keep my head down like this. As I come out, and then like that. This is something a lot of fighters have a hard time with. They get into these habits where they go down and they get stuck. But if you get the good habits in now, when you go out there fighting, you'll be very hard to hit. Learn it, use it. Let's go on.
Here Yellow paves the way for a knee shot with high backhands. His leg work is going to be a little different than you were shown earlier. This is a more advanced technique of going down to one knee, but the idea is the same.
Ooh, it hurts.
Ring finger.
On the top of it, right?
Yeah, right across. It's numb. That was a good shot on my leg, though. I mean, it just took me right out.
Was it pain, or did the leg just stop working?
The leg just stopped working. I mean, the pain wasn't there, really. I mean, I felt my body weight just go straight down. You know?
Put your finger up there. I'll just take it.
Just need to take these two together.
Same thing, different fighter. Notice how a good shot to the back of the knee takes the whole leg out.